Okay, good morning, friends. Shalom Aleichem, Ruchim Abba. We're continuing Mishnah Berura, Daf Hashavua. We are up to Siman Kuf Lamed Aleph, Seif Hey. Siman Kuf Lamed Aleph, Seif Hey. Imchala Mila B'tainis Tzibur. If a Mila comes out on a public fast, what do? Do you not say Tachnun? Are you allowed to eat? Mispalalim Slichais. You daven Slichais, V'oimrim Vidoy. You say Vidoy, Ve'ein Noiflin Al Pneim. You do not do Nefilas Apayim, Ve'ein Oimrim V'huracham. You don't say V'huracham B'shachris in the morning. Afilu B'mak Mishnagul Amr B'loiza. Even in a place where they would have said it without this. In other words, we'll see in the Mishnah Berura, in some places they say V'huracham, even not on Monday and Thursday, on a tainis sibor, but by a mila you would not say Tachnun or the v'huracham. Says Mishnah Berura, mila v'adin chasan. The same thing would be a chasan. Okay. Why didn't the mechaber say chasan? By the way, the Mechaber earlier said V'loi beveis chasan. That's only misha shenichnas lechuppah, not mikaydem lachein. And v'yesh mekilin af b'shachris. So maybe the reason the Mechaber did not say V'loi beveis hachasan is because the kula of the beis hachasan is only misha shenichnas lechuppah, but he's not nichnas lechuppah on the tainis sibor. So this would be a raya to those who are not mekel af b'shachris. The Mishnah Berura is saying v'adin chasan l'didan that we're mekel af b'shachris. Maybe the reason the Mechaber didn't say chasan is because me'ikar hadin a chasan only paters misha shenichnaso l'chuppah, like the Mishnah Berura said earlier in Sivkata and Chav Aleph. Okay, just
the next morning. What are you going to do after chasan?
Well, is that true? V'loi mikri chasan ela b'yom shenichnas l'chuppah.
And call you Mamish?
No, that's our minhag. But the Ramah says loi mikri chasan ela b'yom shenichnas l'chuppah. You're saying that includes the next morning? Maybe not.
I thought it included the whole week. I thought you said you shouldn't go.
No, that's that's based on our minhag that it paters the whole week. But the Ramah said me'ikar adin only Yom Chupasai. Does Yom Chupasai mean even the next morning? I'm not sure. You're right. Our minhag is we do the whole week, and therefore maybe you shouldn't go. Okay. Fine. Sivkat and Chavches. Mispalalim slichais. If a mila comes out on a tainis sibor, you daven slichais. What does that mean? Shemanichan miktsas. You leave go partially. You don't have to forsake it completely. What exactly does this mean? Manichin miktsas ve'ein tzarich laniach legamri. Reb Chaim Kanievsky explains, it's quoted in the Isha Yisrael, that manichin means all you do is you don't say Tachnun. That's the kitzur. But you don't give up any of the slichais. However, Reb Yechiel Michal Tukachinsky says Minhag Yerushalayim is you're even makatzer in the slichais. You only say until ad lashem Elokeinu harachamim v'haslichais. What about Avinu Malkeinu? The Aruch HaShulchan says you do say it, and Reb Chaim Kanievsky you do say it. Actually, in the shul I davened in this morning, they said Avinu Malkeinu for the war. Yeah. Beloy okay. Now, what does the Ramah mean in the end? B'shachas afilu b'makom shenagu la'amrei beloy. We wouldn't say v'hurachim in the morning, even in a place that the minhag is to say it otherwise. Beloy says the Mishnah Berura, denagu be'ezim makamis lomer v'hurachim b'chol tanis sira av she'enoi v'beis v'hei afilu hachim chal mila boy ein oimrim v'hurachim. What about kel erech apayim? Normally, kel erech apayim is not connected to Tachnun. Kel erech apayim is connected to lam natseach. You know that small passage before Vayhi ben Soya, Kel Erech HaPayim, is not connected to Tachnun, it's connected to Lam Natseach. The Ramah says in Yoredeya, Siman Reish Samach Hey Sif Yud Gimel, that B'yoyim HaMila, you do say Kel Erech HaPayim. What about Lam Natseach? There are some places that do not say Lam Natseach by a Mila. The Shach brings it in Yoredeya. There's some connection between Lam Natseach. I think there are 8 psukim in Lam Natseach. There's a difference of opinion whether you say Lam Natseach. I think the minhag is to say, yes, to say Lam Natseach by a Mila. And we know the Mishnah Berura says they're usually linked, so we do say both. Okay, Sivav. Nagu, the minhag is Shaloi Lipal Al Pneim Betu B'Av, V'loi Betu B'Shvat. There you have it. That's the mention of Tu B'Shvat in the Shulchan Aruch. Tu B'Shvat. There's one more, by the way. We don't say Tachnun, the minhag is not to say on Tu B'Av or Tu B'Shvat, V'loi B'Rosh Chodesh, V'loi B'Mincha Shalafanav, V'loi B'Chanukah. I don't know what this order is, okay? V'yesh oimrim gam b'mincha shalafanav by Chanukah. V'cheino again, that's the minhag. B'purim ein noiflim al pneihem. B'lag ba'omer, the Rama adds ein noiflim, right? The Rama was the one who invented lag ba'omer right here. The Rama says on lag ba'omer, we don't say... the Machaber didn't say anything about Lag BaOmer. The Ramah is the one who said we're not noifel al pneim Lag BaOmer. Be'erev Yom Kippur, ein noiflim, we don't say Tachnun every Yom Kippur. V'chein be'erev Rosh Hashanah, afilu shacharis. Says the Mishnah Berura, B'tubav, the Gemara Isa Shay Yom Tov Gold of HaMikdash. In the Gemara we find that it was a great Yom Tov in the time of the Beis HaMikdash. What about nowadays? The Beis HaMikdash is not standing. They bring from Rav Scheinberg, quoting Chidushei Basra, it is Roy L'Simcha, because of the essential Zman. And by being mamshich in the Simcha, as in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, we're mischazek in the Amunah of the coming of Mashiach. V'loi b'tu b'shvat shu Rosh Hashanah le'ilanois. It is the beginning of the year, legabe meiser, for trees v'noigin ha'ashkenazim. The minhag of Ashkenazim, laharbois az b'minei peiros shel ilanois, to have a lot of fruit of trees. The Kaf HaChaim says Sfardim also have fruits, and not the mincha before it. Mashmi zed the betu b'av v'tu b'shvat noiflim b'mincha shelfanav. Let's look carefully. It says we don't say Tachnun tu b'av, tu b'shvat, not Rosh Chodesh, and not the mincha in front of it. V'loi b'mincha shalafanav, the Mishnah Berura reads, is going on Rosh Chodesh, not on Tu B'Av and Tu B'Shvat. So the Mashmai says the mincha before Tu B'Av and Tu B'Shvat, we do say Tachnun, but that's not the minhag. The minhag is we don't say Tachnun. But Purim, Hainu b'Shnei Yamim, both days. If the 15th of Adar comes out on Shabbos, Kaf HaChaim says in Yerushalayim, they don't say Tachnun even on Tes Zayin. And even cities that are not walled, Rav Shlomo Zalman says they don't say Tachnun on Tes Zayin either, but Rav Moshe Feinstein says no, they should. Weiter. V'chein b'Purim Katan b'Shan Muberes, we don't say Tachnun. In all these cases, we don't say the mincha before. V'chein b'Lag ba'Omer. Melavad be'erev Rosh Hashanah u've'erev Yom Kippur, aside from erev Rosh Hashanah and erev Yom Kippur, then we do say in the mincha before. Then oimrim b'mincha shelafneihem. Be'erev Yom Kippur u'v'shar erev Yom Tov ein sarach levar shehu mevar b'sif hasamach. A regular erev Yom Tov, it goes without saying, because it will be explained in the upcoming Sif. Sif Zayin. U'minhag Pashat shelo lipal pneim b'chol chodesh Nisan. The widespread custom is not to have Nefilas Apayim in the whole month of Nisan, V'loi b'Tisha B'Av, not on the 9th of Av, V'loi b'Yom Kippur, V'loi bein Yom Kippur l'Sukkos, and not between Yom Kippur and Sukkos. Says the Rama, V'loi mitchilas Rosh Chodesh Sivan ad achar Shavuos. What about 6 days after Shavuos? No, that's not according to the Rama. We'll see. Maybe the Mishnah Berura will add that. In all these cases, you don't say Tachnun and the Mincha before it. All of these Seifim are regarding Tachnun. In all these cases, you say Lam Natseach. Milvad, B'Rosh Chodesh, V'Chanukah, Upurim, V'Erev Pesach, V'Erev Yom HaKippurim, V'Tisha B'Av. Besides Rosh Chodesh, Chanukah, Purim, Erev Pesach, Erev Yom Kippur, Tisha B'Av, V'Adin Shein Oimrim B'Shana Mu'uberes, B'Yom Yudalid, V'Tesvav B'Adar Rishon, or in an Iberyar, on Adar Rishon on the 14th and the 15th. Gam Ein Oimrim Oisei B'Veis Ha'avel. We also don't say Lam Natseach in the house of a mourner. Why? The Pri Megadim says Rosh Chodesh is, we say Halo, so it's called a Moyed. Chanukah, we say Halo Shalem. Purim, you may Mishta B'Simcha. Erev Pesach is like a Yom Tov, because we're marking the Korban Pesach. Every Yom Kippur, you're not a fast. Tisha B'Av is called a Moyed. Yadad Tesav Adarishain, because we're married with Simcha. But Beis Ha'avel, and Avel is Hukash L'chag. Shenemar v'hafachti chagechem la'avel. Isru Chag, we did not see that you don't say Lam Natsecha and Isru Chag, but the Makar Chaim, by the way, the Makar Chaim is like a Kitzur Shulchan Aruch of the Chavos Yair. He brings, also on the Siddur of Rabbi Yaakov Emden, he says we do not say Lam Natsecha and Isru Chag. That's the opinion of Chazon Ish, because it's a Yom Tov L'bnei Chutz La'aretz. Well, that would only be if you're in Eretz Yisrael. What about in Chutz La'aretz? The minhag in Eretz Yisrael is not to say Lam Natseach on Isru Chag, says Rabbi Chilmechel Tikachinsky. Also, Erev Yom Tov, the Makar Chaim and the Yavit says, don't say it. What's the minhag in America? I'm not sure. Look in the Ezra's Torah Luach, what the minhag in America is about Lam Natseach on Isru Chag and Erev Yom Tov. Okay. Here we go. Oid kasu dekel erech apayim v'lam natseach dinam shaveh. Also, the Achreinim say the dinim of kel erech apayim v'lam natseach are the same. So, for example, one of my favorite pastimes is saying kel erech apayim out loud during Chodesh Nisan when everyone is skipping it because we don't say Tachnun. That's one of my favorite things in life. Okay. 48. There is an opinion that Erev Sukkos, we don't say Lam Natseach, but we will say Kel Erech Apayim. There is such an opinion. Ad Achar Shavuos. Here we go. Some don't say Tachnun for 6 days after Shavuos. Because you can make up the karbanos of Shavuos all 7 days. What about Isru Chag Sukkos until Chodesh Cheshvan? The Magen Avram says, the Pri Chadash brings, there are some places they don't say Tachnun. Chassam Sofer writes in the Tshuva, that is Minhag Ashkenaz, not to say Tachnun the whole Chodesh, the rest of Chodesh Tishrei. It's amazing, all these things that are Minhag Ashkenaz, not all Nusach Ashkenaz does, but you could be sure all Nusach Sfar does. So, the Shari Tshuva brings this minhag in the name of Shiur Knesset Hagdolah, because since the month is Meruba b'Mayadois, we don't say Tachnun at the end of the month. Another reason the Shari Tshuva brings in the name of the Seder Hayom is since the month came in with affliction, therefore at least we escorted out b'Simcha. Rabbi Chilmechel Tikachinsky says another reason They gave Shmini Atzeres Zayin Yemei Tashlumin, just like Shavuos. In the Sefer Tuv Mituv Yerushalayim, he brings the Aderes, wanted to be Masakein to say Tachnun, and Rav Shmuel Solan said Chalila L'shanois Haminog of Yerushalayim not to say Tachnun. However, the Aruch HaShulchan says that this minog has no basis, and the minog of the Chazon Ish is to say Tachnun. So apparently there is minog Yerushalayim not to say Tachnun. Outside of that, if you don't know what your minhag is, then you should say Tachnun. The only thing is, lots of luck finding a shul that's going to say Tachnun at the end of Chodesh Tishrei. What about Pesach Sheni? The Pri Chadar says you don't say Tachnun. Aruch HaShulchan says that's the minhag of Sfardim. And it's brought in the Shari Ephraim and in the Siddur Yavitz. However, the Pri Megadim says that you should say, and the Chazon Ish said you do say Tachnun on Pesach Sheni, as Rashi in Chumash says it is not a Yom Tif. However, again, lots of luck finding a place where they're going to say Tachnun on Pesach Sheni.
Recording stopped.